Your baby locked eyes with you right after a hard moment, a feeding that went wrong, a nap you forced too soon, a startling noise you couldn't stop, and then they did something so quiet, so deliberate, that you probably brushed it off without a second thought. But that moment, that was your baby talking to you, fluently. Welcome to Silent Baby Mind. Subscribe right now, because what you're about to learn today will permanently change the way you look at your child. Most parents believe babies communicate in one direction. They cry when something is wrong, and they smile when things are good. And while that's true on the surface, underneath that there is an entire second language happening. A language of repair, of reconnection, of emotional navigation that developmental scientists have spent decades trying to fully decode. Babies are not passive little beings waiting for you to manage them. From the very first weeks of life, they are active participants in the emotional relationship they have with you. And when that relationship hits a rough patch, even a tiny one, even one that lasts 30 seconds, they have a built-in set of responses specifically designed to bring you both back together. The problem is that most parents either don't recognize these signals at all, or they accidentally respond in ways that shut the signals down before they can do their job. By the time we're done today, you will know exactly what your baby is doing when things feel off between you. And I'm saving the most surprising one for last. The one that looks like your baby is rejecting you, but is actually the most sophisticated form of emotional connection a baby can offer. Let's start from the beginning. 1. They break eye contact right after the tension peaks, and that is not rejection. Picture this. You've been trying to get your baby to sleep for 40 minutes. You're frustrated. Maybe your voice got sharper than you intended. Maybe you set them down more firmly than you meant to. And then, in the middle of it all, your baby looks away. They turn their head. They stare at the ceiling or the wall or the corner of the room. And your immediate instinct is, they're upset with me. They're shutting me out. Here is what is actually happening. Developmental psychologists have a term for this behavior: gaze aversion. And in infants, it is not a social rebuff. It is a neurological regulation strategy. A baby's nervous system is extraordinarily immature. Unlike adults who can manage emotional overload through internal processes, deep breathing, mental reframing, distraction, infants have almost none of those tools available. Their primary tool for managing too much emotional input is to reduce the sensory flow coming in. Looking away from your face is how your baby turns down the volume on an experience that has become overwhelming. Research from the work of Edward Tronick, a developmental neuroscientist at UMass Boston, showed that even in normal, non-conflictual interactions, babies cycle in and out of engagement roughly every 30 to 90 seconds. They look at you. They take in information, they feel the emotional charge of the interaction, and then they look away to process and recover. Then they come back. After a moment of tension, this cycle simply runs longer. The look away lasts more than a few seconds, but it always, in a securely developing baby, ends with a return. They come back to your face. They re-engage. That return is the repair attempt. That is your baby saying, "Okay, I needed a moment, but I'm still here." Are you still there too? The worst thing you can do in that moment is follow their gaze, hover over them, or escalate your attempts to engage. The best thing you can do is soften your own face, wait, and let them come back on their timeline. Because they will. 2. They reach their hands toward you without making a sound. You've just finished a difficult moment. Maybe the bath was rough. Maybe your baby cried hard and took a long time to settle. The storm has passed. Things are quiet now. And then, without any warning, your baby extends both arms toward you. No crying, No fussing, just arms out. Most parents see this and immediately respond with a hug or a pickup, which is a great instinct. But most parents also don't fully understand what they're responding to, and that understanding matters. This gesture, arms reaching upward or outward toward a caregiver following emotional distress, is what infant researchers call a proximity-seeking signal. And it is one of the earliest and most evolutionarily ancient behaviors in the human repertoire. Primatologists have documented the same gesture in infant chimpanzees, in gorillas, in orangutans. The moment after stress, the infant reaches for the attachment figure. What makes this signal remarkable in human babies is how early it appears and how specifically it is directed. By around 4 to 5 months, most babies are not reaching out randomly. They are reaching for you. They know your face, they know your smell. They know the particular way your arms feel when you hold them. And they are choosing, out of everything in their environment, to reach specifically in your direction. Think about what that represents. In the middle of whatever residual distress they are still processing, your baby is orienting toward you as the solution, not away from you, toward you. That is attachment in its purest form. The response that reinforces this most powerfully is not just picking them up, but narrating it. I've got you. You're safe. I'm right here. Your voice, warm and steady, paired with physical contact, delivers a 2-channel message that helps regulate their nervous system faster than touch alone. 3. They suddenly smile at you out of nowhere, and it's not random. This one surprises a lot of parents. You've just had a hard 10 minutes. Your baby was inconsolable. You're exhausted. You finally get them calm, and then they smile at you. Big, wide, like nothing happened, like they're fine, like they're happy to see you. And your first thought is, are they manipulating me? Do they even know what just happened? Here's the science. Infant smiling after distress is not amnesia, and it is not manipulation. It is what researchers call a social referencing smile, and it serves a very specific function. Your baby is checking the emotional temperature of the relationship. They are offering a positive social signal and watching to see if you return it, because the return of that signal tells them something critical. We're still okay. The developmental psychologist Beatrice Beebe, whose decades of microanalysis of mother-infant interactions at Columbia University produced some of the most detailed data we have on early communication, documented that these bids for re-engagement, which include smiling, vocalizing, and leaning toward the caregiver, spike dramatically in the minutes following a stressful interaction. It is not coincidence. Babies smile at you after hard moments because they are working. They are doing the labor of relationship repair with the only currency they have, their face. And here is the part that genuinely changes things when parents understand it. If you respond to that post-distress smile with warmth, with your own smile back, with an, "Oh, hey, there you are," your baby's cortisol levels, which spiked during the distress, come down measurably faster. That exchange of smiles is not just emotionally nice, it is physiologically corrective. You are literally co-regulating their stress chemistry through your face. 4. They press their forehead or their body against you and go still. You pick up your baby after a hard moment and they do something particular. Instead of wriggling or twisting or pushing back, they press in. Their whole body softens against yours. Their forehead drops to your shoulder. Their hands stop moving. They go heavier in your arms and they just rest there. And most parents feel this and simply enjoy it, which is the right response. But they don't always recognize what it is. This physical stilling, what some researchers describe as passive physical surrender during close contact, is one of the most sophisticated regulatory behaviors a baby has available. In developmental terms, this is your baby engaging what is called the ventral vagal system, a part of the autonomic nervous system associated with social safety and calm that is directly activated by close physical contact with a trusted caregiver. The neuroscientist Stephen Porges, whose polyvagal theory has reshaped how we understand the nervous system's role in social behavior, identified that for mammals, including human infants, the experience of felt safety is primarily a body experience before it is a cognitive one. Babies don't think their way to calm. They feel their way there through skin contact, heartbeat proximity, and the warmth of a body they trust. When your baby presses into you and goes still after distress, they are using your body as a co-regulatory tool. They are borrowing your nervous system's calm to regulate their own. The practical implication of this is important. In this moment, the worst thing you can do is rush. Don't start talking a lot. Don't bounce them energetically. Don't check your phone. The stillness is working. Let it work. The repair is happening in the quiet, in the warmth, in the shared breath of two people after a hard moment. Stay there a little longer than feels necessary. Because for your baby, it is necessary. 5. They vocalize softly, not toward you, but near you. Here is one that is genuinely easy to miss because it doesn't look like communication at all. After a rough period, maybe a long car ride where they cried, maybe a doctor's visit, maybe just a hard afternoon, your baby starts making noises, small noises, babbling, coos, little sounds that don't seem directed at anyone, least of all you. They're looking at the fan, they're staring at the window, they're just making sounds in your presence. What is this? Developmental linguists call this kind of vocalization self-regulatory babble. And while it has a self-soothing function, it also has a social one that researchers have only recently started to fully appreciate. When babies vocalize in the presence of a caregiver after distress, they are engaging in what one line of research describes as affiliative sound production, vocal behavior that signals openness to social contact without directly demanding it. In plainer terms, your baby is warming up the connection. They're not ready to lock eyes and smile and go full engagement, but they're also not silent and withdrawn. They are filling the space between you with sound, which is an invitation, not a loud one, not an insistent one, but an invitation. The response that most strengthens this moment is one that matches their register. Don't jump in with big, stimulating interaction. Instead, respond at the same volume and tempo they're using. Soft sounds back, a gentle a quiet narration of what's happening. Yeah, you had a tough one, huh? We're okay now. You're not trying to take over the exchange. You're trying to join it on their terms. And when you do that, when you meet them at their level instead of pulling them up to yours, the vocalization slowly shifts. It starts coming toward you instead of past you. And within a few minutes, you're having a conversation, a repair conversation, without either of you having the words for it. 6. They fall asleep in your arms right after the hardest moment, and that is trust, not escape. This is the one I saved for last. And I want you to really hear this, because it is the signal that parents most often misread as something negative. You've just been through something hard with your baby, a long stretch of inconsolable crying, a difficult feeding, a moment where you both felt frustrated and overwhelmed, and then, finally, things settle, and your baby, sometimes within minutes of the storm ending, closes their eyes and falls asleep on you. And a lot of parents feel something complicated in that moment. Relief, yes, but also sometimes a strange, unspoken guilt, like the baby gave up, like they escaped into sleep because the waking world with you was too much. That is not what is happening. Sleep onset in infants following high emotional arousal is one of the most well-documented and physiologically complex behaviors in infant development. From a neurological standpoint, sleep following stress is not retreat, it is recovery. The brain actively uses sleep to process and consolidate experiences, to restore homeostasis after cortisol release, and to reinforce neural pathways that were active during the preceding event. But here's the part that matters most. The fact that your baby falls asleep on you, specifically while being held by you, with your heartbeat under their ear and your warmth surrounding them, tells you something that no amount of smiling or reaching or eye contact could say as clearly. Your baby trusts you enough to be unconscious in your presence. Think about that. Sleep is the most vulnerable state a human being can be in. It requires the complete suspension of all defensive awareness. You cannot protect yourself when you are asleep. You cannot escape. You cannot respond to threat. For a baby whose entire survival is dependent on the safety of the caregiving environment, falling asleep requires a level of felt safety that overrides every biological alarm system they have. The fact that your baby chooses that state in your arms after the hardest moment is not them giving up on you. It is them choosing you as the safest place they know, even after the hard thing, even after the crying, even after the disconnect. They came back, and they let go. There is no clearer statement of forgiveness in the entire human behavioral repertoire. Here is what I need you to take away from everything we've covered today. Your baby is not a blank slate waiting for you to fill them in. From the very beginning, from weeks, not months, they are tracking the emotional quality of the relationship between you. They notice when something goes wrong. They feel the rupture. And they have an entire built-in toolkit of behaviors designed to bring the two of you back together. When they look away, they are regulating so they can return to you. When they reach their arms out, they are choosing you as the solution. When they smile at you after distress, they are doing the hardest relational work they know how to do. When they press into your body and go still, they are trusting your nervous system to help calm their own. When they vocalize softly in your presence, they are warming the space between you back up. And when they fall asleep in your arms after everything, they are telling you, in the oldest and most unguarded language available to a human being, that you are safe, that you are still home. None of these signals require you to be a perfect parent. They don't require you to never lose your patience or never have a hard day. They require something much more available than that. Your presence, your willingness to receive what your baby is offering, and your understanding that repair is possible. Every time you recognize one of these signals and respond to it, not perfectly, just genuinely, you are building something in your child that will last far beyond infancy. You are building a nervous system that believes the world can be repaired, that relationships survive hard moments, that the person who loves you will still be there on the other side of the rupture. That is not a small thing. That is the foundation of every healthy relationship your child will ever have. If this changed the way you see your baby, please share it with another parent who needs to hear it. And before you go, subscribe to Silent Baby Mind, hit that like button, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 6 signals you've witnessed in your own child. I read every single one. See you in the next video.